Okay, everybody. Sorry for the giggles, but welcome back to Coffee and Art Part 2, where I'm going to talk about a little bit of some more things that you can add to your idea folder or idea Mama Jamba notebook or whatever you want to call your notebook, your idea notebook, where you collect and organize your ideas. Now, your ideas are not going to be the same as mine, although I share my ideas with you so that you can generate and spark your own ideas. This is going to be part two, and I will name it Idea Notebook Episode 2. That way, if anybody that wants to just to watch just the notebook information, that they can follow along and find it quickly. Thank you, Carrie, for that reminder. Part one was my birthday week haul, and so we're separating these out. And now we're talking about fractals and 6 or 7 degrees of separation, depending on how well you want to know us. Okay, so yeah, let me go ahead and again, I'll repeat my a little bit of the information here. I don't want to keep going over and over the same stuff because I want us to keep moving forward. But I do have a big idea notepad in here just to sketch down the quick ideas. I also keep separately a little, either a small molly in my purse or a composition book handy to scribble things down, just to have something handy because I do not carry this around. I do not have this in a backpack strapped to my back carrying this around even in the house. So you want, this is something that you'll collect for more permanent ideas or more permanent things that you want to work out. And it's to sit on a desk. Believe me, it's 3 inches thick of paper. You do not want to be carrying this Mama Jamba around with you. So you want to have something to carry around with you to throw your ideas in. If you have any questions, capitalize them, and we'll talk about the 6 or 7 degrees of separation later. All right. So again, the table of contents that I've so far worked up, and I'm just doing some some ink wells, some inky wells, some little, designs for that. I have one page protector in between every one of my dividers just to have something to stick a pretty paper in. And I showed these earlier on my birthday haul, my collection. I'm collecting up the quotable, notable bookmarks of famous artists and or art related people and sticking those in there. So I have those four to add to my page protectors further back in the back of the book. I have different tabs at the top, and then I have my table of content tabs running on the side. All right, so far, what I have for my table of contents are, and I won't I'm just going to say what they are right now. If you want to know more about each one in depth, then I have a show called Idea Notebook Episode 1. I'm going to try to do a little at a time with this so that we can, like, you can continuously work on how you want it to be your idea notebook and not just a copy of mine, because your ideas and what's important to you, it's going to be different than what's important to me. You might be more of a writer and less of a visual artist, so you're going to have different things in yours. All right, so but we have my art, your main thing. Then you have my art, all secondary arts. So in other words, if you like, if I do mostly portraits and collages, that would be like number one. Number two would be everything else that I like to do. Like I have my murals, I have scrapbooking, and I can read you some of what I have in mind. But again, it's not going to be the same thing. If you don't do scrapbooking, you're not going to put scrapbooking under your sub tab for your secondary art. Third is mind maps, lists and charts or graphs, any and all of those. Four are your supplies and tools. Now you can, if you want, color out every pencil you have, but that's not the point of this. This is how am I going to use those supplies, not just a list. You can list your supplies. You can put like watercolors, ink tints, neo colors, but do you want a chart for each? That's totally up to you. Five are techniques or tips and tricks. That was, I think, Jean's little subtopic, tips and tricks. Um, 6 is anything to do with color, color combinations, color names, color ideas, ideas that I get from colors, charts, color combinations, like the design seeds, and we talked about that in episode 1. 7 is topic, words, and themes. 8 is plans, projects, and to do. 9 are sources, whether it be online books, friends, television, wherever you get sources, as opposed to your references, which is number 10. And under references for 10, I have current and historical. I am going to give you a little, I don't want to say a homework because it's not really, but I'll give you a little something fun to do. And I'll tell you, I don't know that I'll tell you every one of mine because I want you to do what yours, but I'll give you a little fun thing to do with your references. Okay, so then under, like, here's my art. I did just make a couple of black and white copies out of some different coloring books and things like that, just to have something on my cover page. You don't have to decorate your cover page if you don't want. I just did it just because I was looking at a color book and I thought I'm going to I just ran my already written out content page through the printer, and then I just colored one day sitting here while I was watching a YouTube video. All right, so here's one of the examples, another one of here's my Salvador Dali bookmark. And what they are is you get them at museums, bookstores. I'm sure you can get them online somewhere. I get them at the museums and bookstores. But they're quotable notables. This is Salvador Dali, and then they have stickers with quotes by that artist. And I'm just going to I just want to decorate, so I have one in each divider. And it's not just for the bookmarking because I like it, but it also reminds me to put any other ideas tucked in there. Just kind of like a reminder. Hey, Marie. And yeah, Marie, you need to be streaming too. Yes, and I don't know what Sister Woman was talking about, some kind of paper that doesn't tear easy. I do keep, um, I have a little bag of different kinds of reinforcements, some little tab things so you can tab more, and just, little things like that, little handy little things that I want to, if I want to mark something or reinforce the holes that tear. Plus, I always have my Post-it notes handy. All right. Now, my art, that's not going to mean anything to you. Neither is number 2, my secondary art. Now, here I have Sherlock Holmes bookmark in there. Again, I just copied off of a color book, some little cute something. All right, so here, my writing is very small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give you some ideas on, I'm going to read off some of the things that I have under my tabs that just to give you ideas. For instance, I'm going to say one of my main thing I do right now, I'm doing portraits and or collage. But that's not going to apply to you if you do neither one of those, all right? But here's just some of the other things that I have written down just to get you sparked and thinking about what do you do. All right, so you draw, sketch, color pencil, you art journal. Like I said, I do a lot, portraits. Now I can divide that up into my pet portraits, my people portraits. So you have to tailor these toward what you do. Mixed media, acrylic painting, art cards, ATC, scrapbooking, murals. Now, I don't do many 3D things, but I also wrote down a couple things that I think that people like y'all are going to do. Like you might have crochet, knitting. I know a lot of y'all, Bryn, that was another one that I watched. I did watch Fluffy's recording, Bryn, where she showed all her roving and the wool and the things she's doing. So she would have a whole section for just that kind of thing that I don't have. I don't do knitting. I mean, I do minuscule crocheting. But if you do a lot of stuff like that, see, she would have folders full of information on knitting, roving, wool. Same for Juanita. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, Vern, you have to tailor this to what you do. So, if you do bookmaking, stamp carving, book altering, bookmaking, card making. So think about, write down, if nothing else, if you don't write down anything else right now, just write down, you know, everything. What do I love, and what other things do you do? Even if you don't like calligraphy, I do calligraphy. I don't do it much, but now, but it's a skill. It's a skill you have. All right. Now, the other thing that, let me make a note of something else here that I wanted to bring up later. Um, Another thing to remember on every, this is to me, the most important thing about the whole idea collecting thing, is to ask yourself who, what, where, why, when, and how on everything. Everything. Like, let's just say you're trying to narrow down, you still want to write down all your skills, but let's say you want to narrow it down and start focusing on one or two. So this is still under my secondary art tab. We're still under my secondary art tab. But we all can't be good at everything. We can be good at a lot of things, and but to excel at one or two things. All right. But you have to focus and really work at those things. If you don't work at them, you're not going to be good at it, whether it be any of the things that we just talked about. You have to really focus. Not that you can never do any of the other things, but if you really want to get good at one or two things, you have to put your primary focus on those things. So, what you need to do is, after you've written down every skill, craft, art, all of that you know how to do, dabbled in, tried, think you might love, then you need to ask yourself the who, what, where, why, when, and how of every single one. Everything. Take your art journaling. Who, what, where. In other words, ask yourself, who am I doing this for? Why am I doing it? Where do I like to do it? Why do I like to do it? How do I like to do it? Who do I like? I like watching Paula. But do I really like art journaling, or do I just really like watching Paula art journal? You see what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of things that we like to do that we think we like to do, but we really just like watching other people do it because they do it so well, like Paula in the art journaling. Now, we all like to dabble in art journaling, do some mixed media and collage and art journaling. We all do some of that. But do we want to do that? Is that our central focus? Or would you rather be knitting? Do you see my point? So sometimes, I love to do my collage, and I know people like to watch me collage. But other than Kathy Arbor and a couple people, I really haven't seen too many people actually try it or really do it. So I think what it is people like watching me do it, which is fine. That's why I'm here. Inspired people to do whatever. But that doesn't mean you are going to want to excel at that one thing. Does that make sense? So a lot of things that we like or think we like, it's really we like the end product. We like what it looks like. We like watching other people doing. I mean, I could probably watch Bryn spin on her spinning wheel for hours and just, love that. But am I going to go buy a spinning wheel, rove, buy wool, dye wool, and make the stuff that she, no. So, and I think that just my had an epiphany. Well, these are the things. If you ask yourself the questions who, what, where, why, when, and how on every single craft, skill, or even things that you think you might do. Have you a separate list? I might want to do this someday, and write it all down. But ask yourself the questions why, who, does it, that I've seen it, that I like it. Oh, I love Paula's art journals. Is that why I like it? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Paula, I'm just using you as an example, Vern. Paula's my Vern today. And so, but what I mean is you have to ask yourself those questions to determine if you really want to be good at it. Not that you can't ever try it or be inspired by somebody else's skill at it, but are you willing to put the time in it that they have put in it? Okay? Right. Exactly. Can I, and I mean, if it's okay, Susan, I'll say that. That she says at heart, she's a card maker and perhaps a lame watercolor learner, but the rest, well, not as much, but maybe scrapbooking and that she can paint on. But my art journals are sitting mostly empty, but she loves to watch me and Paula. So you see what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. And you can learn, like you will pick up things and tips and tricks from my collage or Paula's art journal, Susan, that you would use those tips and little tricks in your card making. Does that mean you have to go out and buy 20 art journals like me and Paula? No. Oh. And that thing, and Paula said the same thing. That's like her in cards. She's not a card maker. That doesn't mean that we can't learn from the card makers tips and tricks. And every time Eileen sends a batch of cards for me to send out to you guys, oh my God, I look at that and think, what a great idea. I mean, for my favorite, one of my favorite cards that she's ever sent in was the one that Moomy got for her birthday of the old phone booth. I think it was a stamp. I think she got it. I don't even know where she got the stamp from. But that sparked so many cool ideas in me. I will never make a card like that, let alone probably never a card. But it sparks ideas. We all get ideas from each other, but that doesn't mean that we have to do card making or we have to do journaling or we have to do collage. Oh, thanks, Susan. She said she's learned a lot from both of us about persistence. Yes. You have to, to be good at anything, you have to practice. And if you're trying to be good at everything, trust me, there's just not enough hours in the day. I do this full time. I sit here 8 hours a day and I don't even have time to do everything that I see that I would love to do. So you have to narrow it down. Plus, you have to, once you narrow it down, then you have to start working. Pick a couple of things, pick two, three things at the most for, even a couple few months to see if you love it. And then if you don't love it, if you do not love, like let's say, oh, I think I'm going to love card making, so I'm going to try it. Well, if you find out in 2 or 3 months you do not like it, well, don't feel bad about, oh, I'm moving on here. Hey, people, I do not like making cards. I'm moving on. I don't like art journaling. All that painty mess is just not for me. Well, then move on. There's no shame in that. You tried something and you didn't like it. But you have to question yourself as to why you're doing it. Is it just because everybody else is doing it in the group and you feel like you might be left out if you don't? And you will. You will not only feel that, but you will be left out of certain things. I am totally left out of anything that has to do with card making groups. There's girls here that get together and do hangouts that just make cards. They gather around card making classes. They take the classes. They talk about the classes. They're involved in the classes. So you will be left out of a little bit. So, but that's okay. You're going to have to still, at the end of the day, you're going to have to pick what you love to do, even if nobody else does it or likes it. Okay. I will be doing what I do. If I did not Ustream, I was doing it way before Ustream, way before YouTube, way before computers, way before chat rooms. You have to do what you love or you will not stick with it. You might do it for a while and you'll have camaraderie and you'll have friends, but you'll not be doing something you love. Okay? And I know I'm on a soapbox, so just, don't email me. Or you can email me, I don't care. But you have to work at what you love or you're not going to stick with it. And that even groups out to like my color pencil. If I did not like doing pet portraits and people portraits, if I really, really like doing landscapes, but I was doing pet portraits because people buy pet portraits, then I'm not going to stick with it because I'm not going to love it for long. But I do. I love doing portraits, pet and people. I don't enjoy landscapes. I do enjoy fantasy landscapes, but that's surrounding my pets or people. You know what I'm saying, Vern? So you have to kind of decide what you really really love, and you have to be honest with yourself. You have to not just say, oh, but I want to love cards because I want to hang out with Eileen. You know what I'm saying? I could say that because I love hanging out with Eileen, but she does lots of card stuff, so I'm not involved in a lot of that. I'm just using Eileen and Paula now. Okay, who else is here? Jean. Okay, let's throw Jean into the mix. Okay, so anyway, so I'll stop on that. Just that was just kind of a little bit of a little pep talk, if you will, on finding what you love. And so when you're writing down everything that you are skilled at or even dabbled in, write it down, but next to it, question yourself on every single one. Make a page for every skill. Like my calligraphy. I don't do calligraphy anymore because for one, nobody wants any calligraphy anymore. Not I'll say nobody, but but I've always loved doing portraits, color pencil, and that sort of thing. So I have a couple, two or three skills that I'm good at, but I'm focusing on my portraits right now. There was a time where I focused on murals, but I'll tell you, in my niece, I'll just sidebar rabbit trail. My niece is having her fourth child, and she wants me to do her nursery old um, in in hunting, but like foxes. Like she wants foxes in fun frames, and she wants a whole mural of like a hunting foxy thing, but not hunting, not like guns kind of hunting, but I mean just like that theme. She wants the hunting, the old vintage fireplaces and sconces and elaborate frames with foxes as the motif. Well, she wants two full walls, and I said, I don't know, Lisa, if I'm up for this. It's a lot of work, and I just don't really know that I'm up for doing two full wall murals. It's not only time consuming, and she knows it's expensive, paying to buy all that, but that's beside the point. I just don't know that I'm really up for that. If I am, I'd have to subcontract Cameron to help me. All right, so that was just a little rabbit trail there on how you can be good at a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that you have to focus or put all your time and energy in something that is not going to be um, the thing you love the most. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go off of that. And let's see. That's almost about 30 minutes. So we'll talk about, I'm going to try to keep these episodes maybe about 30 minutes each. And then, so every time we do one of these, I want to try to an hour, I'm sorry, keep them about an hour each. And then that way you can just continuously keep working on your ideas. But don't let like I'm on tab 2 or 3 today and next week tab 4, don't let that stop you from adding your own thoughts and ideas and the who, what, where, why, when, and how of everything. You need to do that with all your supplies. I know that Wee Hootie, Rabbit Trail, Wee Hootie, Judy, we call her Wee Hootie, is sorting out all her stuff. Well, if she sits down and thinks about, now some things you just know you want to get rid of, you're not going to use anymore. You're not a crocheter anymore, and your sister is, so you give all your crocheting stuff to your sister. I mean, there's things like that you are just obvious to you in your situation, that you know that you can donate, sell, or give, or whatever, things you are no longer going to be using or doing, uh, mostly. But if you sit down with all your stuff as you're listing your supplies, now, like I said, you don't have to necessarily list Inktense color yellow number 5, Inktense yellow color number 2. You don't have to do that unless you want to, and you're going to use your Inktense and you want to whatever. But what you need to do is list your supplies that you have, like washi tape. I have tons of it right here. Am I ever going? Why do I have that much washi tape? Who, what, where, why, when, and how? How much of that did I buy because, oh, Eileen had that red striped washi tape. Now, I'm not picking on Eileen. She's our enabler elf. But sometimes we do get caught up in the moment and we think we're going to use it. But if you stop and ask yourself, why are you buying it? Where am I going to use it? Am I going to use it in scrapbooking, card making, mixed media? Am I not doing card making anymore, so I don't really need washi tape or whatever? So you have to. You'll be emailing me. Beauty, I love you. So you have to ask yourself who, what, where, why, when, and how on every. Now, I don't mean necessarily every single piece of washi tape, but just in general. Your color pencils, your paints, whatever it is. Ask yourself those general questions, and you will start to narrow down and focus what you really need, what you really use. But once you'll do that once, you have narrowed down and focused on 2 or 3 skills that you really want to develop. Okay. Not that you can't ever do anything else. I'm not saying you can never make a card because you're not a card maker. So don't even go there. Yeah. All right. So the third tab is list charts and maps. I'm skipping over that for a minute because I want to, and I'm going to skip over supplies and tools because I think right now I'm going to skip over those just for now because I want you to list your supplies and your tools. And I'm skipping over the mind mapping charts for now because that will be more something that once you get your ideas collected, how to use those ideas and develop them into things that you can use, problem solving and whatever. Okay, so I'm going to skip that for now. All right. All right, let me say something briefly on techniques. Techniques is tab 5 in mine. Okay, and you don't have to have yours the same numbers or system. You can use put techniques at the back of the book or number 2. It doesn't matter as far as where you put these things. All right. Okay, any questions or anything? We take a sip of coffee. All right, under techniques, I have sub tabs. Tools and tips and tools, like I think it was Jean that suggested that. You can also have under there your prompts. We all love our prompts, and to me, a prompt is a technique. A technique. I don't mean to say when I said tools, I don't mean tools like your Cameo. Um, so I don't want to confuse that. I don't know if, and I might have accidentally said technique and tools just because it just slipped out, but I just mean techniques. But under techniques, you can put list of prompts and ideas of how to use your different supplies. Supplies is a different tab because you want to keep the actual physical supplies listed separately because you want to analyze why you have them and where you're going to use them. But if you have your techniques listed, and that's an ongoing thing. Techniques are always good. You're always going to learn new techniques every time you watch a new artist. All right. Because, like, for instance, you're watching me collage and you see how I blend with my finger. Okay. So you're thinking, okay, blending with your finger with thick paint is going to blend your collage elements better than with thin, watered down paint and a brush. So that's a technique. Let me stop and make sure that I'm making sense on the techniques. Um, you could also have a separate sub tab under techniques for patterns. If you are a knitter or crocheter, one of your techniques is patterns. Now, that doesn't mean you have to store all your patterns in this book because obviously, if you're a big knitter or crocheter, that's not going to work. There'd be thousands, it'd be like me trying to store my rolls of washi tape in this book. So you might list your patterns. You might say, all right, here's my sweater patterns. And you might list those, or my glove patterns, or my sock patterns. You might list your patterns in under techniques/patterns and then have those listed. So you can break things out however it works best for you. I don't collect patterns. I don't, I crochet chain stitch. So if you will have to work out the system that works best for you so that you know what you have, your patterns you have, because you want to be able to use those. So let's just say you have 10 sock patterns, and I'm just random here, people, please. I'm just randomly picking sock patterns and crochet or knitting. So, because I'm trying to make lots of examples so that y'all can see the different ways you can categorize things. That it will not be exactly the way I categorize things, and I won't categorize things the same way you do because we do different things and prioritize different um, skills. All right. So you may want to have, let's say you have 10 sock patterns and you're a knitter. So under techniques, you will have a subcategory called patterns because your patterns are a technique, because every pattern's going to be a little different. You're going to have different, you just want a way to know what patterns you have if you are a knitter. Or if you're a card maker and or a scrapbooker and you have, no, they're not called patterns. What are they called? Not the layouts, the blank ideas. There's a name for it and it's slipping my mind because I'm in knitting mode here now. I know one of y'all will know what I'm talking about. Uh, so then under your pattern subcategory of patterns, you might list McCall's knitting so and so, Juanita's pattern that I got off of her YouTube number so and so, Fluffy Bren's YouTube channel pattern number, she made these red socks or whatever. However you want to list it so that you will um, um, keep it organized in your mind. All right. Does that make sense? All right. If y'all have any questions, just ask because I'm trying to cover everything, every contingency that comes to my mind that might be a question. But obviously, I'm not thinking of everything that y'all might think of. So that's why I'm trying to do these shows like an hour increments so that we can kind of like develop more and more of how to not just collect. Right now, we're talking about collecting our ideas, but we also want to get to the point where we are using those ideas. We all use some every day, obviously. Every time we pick up a pen, a pencil, or a paintbrush, or a knitting needle, we're using it. But we also have so many ideas that we think we're going to remember, we want to do someday, or we may want to write down to analyze that we will not ever do that, ever. But until you kind of think it through, you may not know. You'll just see Bryn and her wool roving, and you're going to go crazy wanting to buy all those pretty fluffy colors. And you don't even know why. You don't even like to knit, but it looks so pretty and fluffy and fun. You know what I'm saying, Vern? All right. So, under the techniques, I have a few different prompt charts and lists. They're all over the place. We've done them here. We've made our own. Jean did one where we cut them up. She had her own list. I think that she got it Bryn's one day, and she printed it out for us all. If you have a prompt list from, there's, millions of people. Well, I don't want to exaggerate. There's not millions doing prompts, but there's tons of artists out there with prompt lists. We've done the Kyla cards. There's just all kinds of different things like those prompt lists. I put those under my techniques under a subcategory called prompts because those are techniques for art journaling. They are techniques for collage. They are techniques for mixed media. Okay. A prompt list or cards or papers that you pull out of the bag, like we did with jeans, those are a technique. It's a random technique, but it's a technique nonetheless. So if you have lists of different prompts, this is how I categorize them in my idea notebook. I have them printed out. And they're on lists. Okay. I have them and they go under a subcategory for my techniques. Okay. So that's an option. All right. Okay. I don't know what's going on in chat, so I'm just going to keep moving on. As long as there's no clowns, people, it's a clown-free zone. All right. Another thing that I have under my techniques, and this is for collage, okay? And I know I've talked about some of these before. And of course, when you watch me collage, if you want to, when I'm talking about collage, or not just me, anybody, when you're watching them do whatever project, and you're just going to watch, or even if you're working on something of your own and you're watching a YouTube video or a Ustream, keep a piece of paper, just a little, something, next to you, where you can jot down your ideas while the person is doing it. So, for instance, you're doing knitting and you're thinking about, oh, I really like that collage thing. Maybe I'll give it a try. Well, first ask yourself the questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. But then, if you're just wanting some notes on, maybe somebody that does collage and you want to take notes for them. Who knows? Everybody has their own priorities. But if you keep a piece of paper and pencil handy, that while somebody is doing something, whether it be on TV, Ustream, YouTube, whatever, then you will collect your ideas and narrow things down. You may think you want a collage until I'm telling you, okay, now you've got to go to your collage fodder. Right there, people go, I don't want any collage fodder. I don't want me no collage fodder. That's my daughter speaking. That's Denise talking right there. I don't want any collage fodder. Fodder means clutter to Denise. She doesn't want any collage fodder at all. Not a tub, not a bin, not a drawer, not an envelope. Okay. So, anyway. Yeah, I know. Hi, Miss Beeper. I love saying Miss Beeper. So, you might just narrow it down right there while you're knitting. Who knows? But the thing is if you have something handy to write things down, then you can not only just get your techniques and things that you may want, but you can also narrow down things you may not want. All right. So for instance, when I'm doing a collage, I can kind of mentally do some of this now, but I wrote some of these things down to give y'all some examples as well. Some of the things in collage are you want to compare and contrast, you want to have opposites. You want to have, and then maybe that's true with any kind of really interesting paintings, but especially true with collage. If you have big and small, light and dark, round and square, near and far, close up and, far away, however you want to say it. Heavy and light, think if you have opposites, a lot of things in opposites in collage make your piece interesting. And that's true in mixed media as well, I think. Okay, it may not be important to you, don't but it's just a technique that you may want to consider. You may want to write it down when I'm doing mixed media collage. I might want to think about having light and dark, big and small. You just might want it. That's just an idea. It's just an idea. It's just a piece of paper that you can scribble it down. All right, so there's one example. So yeah, lots of prompt lists. Let's see, like, I don't even know if this was Jean's prompt list. I also still have my prompt list. I know for a fact Jean's prompt list. Let me go grab it real quick. Here's my Jean prompt list that I have not yet put in my idea book. Right here. Jean gave us a list that I think all of y'all got together one time at Bryn's and did this. I wasn't there, so I just call it Jean's because she's the one that compiled it for us, put it on a spreadsheet or whatever. And I cut them out. So I printed them out and I cut them all out. So there's probably, I don't know, was there 100? I don't remember how many. But these eventually really need to be, unless Jean still has the list handy and I can reprint it out, I really need to rewrite these down so that, like, make a pop-up. And it's the same thing with the Kyla cards or, other people that have done cards and prompts. It's the same thing. And, like this one, I'll give credit to Jean and the fluffy group whenever they did it, that kind of thing. So you want to write down where you got them if you can remember, or if they have a name, you can go on, just look up prompts and you'll get, probably 100 different prompt lists. But those prompts and prompt lists I file for me under techniques. Okay, because I do mixed media and collage, that to me is a technique, pulling prompts. Okay, it's on Bryn's blog. Thank you, Jean. Okay, so for anybody listening, if you want a nice little list of prompts, it's on Bryn's blog, which is an elegant tangle. No, that's her Ustream. I think she has a separate name for her blog. If anybody happens to remember it, um, yeah, cards, prompts, sticks, uh, tabs, tags, whatever you want. Any kind of prompts like that. Just list them, wherever you get them, and give credit if you're using them, where you got them. You know, her blog is Knitted Treasures. Okay, Knitted Treasures is Elegant Tangle brand. That's her blog, Knitted Treasures, and it's probably at least, gosh, it must have been a year ago, Jean. Probably close to a year ago when y'all did these. Okay, so that's just one way of filing prompts. Okay, and I've got different lists of them here. All right. Um, then let's just see, how much time do we have? I'm trying to keep it at right around an hour. Every time we do one of these shows, I'll probably have different tabs that I'll be talking about depending on where I've worked in them, or if I've got ideas from you guys. If you email me and want to address something, then, I mean, when I say don't email me, I think y'all know what I'm talking about. There was when we first started, I don't even want to go there. Uh, Anything positive, feel free to email me, guys. Feel free to email me on any ideas you have, anything you want to talk about, especially on the idea notebook. If you want this discussed or that discussed, or what about this or what about that, question what we could do. It's going to benefit everybody if we discuss, different things that help in your organization. Right now, we're really just talking about the gathering of the ideas, because if you don't have any ideas gathered, you're not going to have any ideas to use, right? That's why I always say write down everything, whether it's in something you carry around, a composition book, even post-it notes. I had to go through a stack. I mean, I had stacks of post-it notes that I've taken while watching shows and things, and I still do. I'll still use my post-it notes as my quick way to write down any idea or anything that happens while I'm watching a YouTube, a Ustream, a live show, or a recording. They'll go on a post-it note, and even if I just take that post-it note and file it in here for the time being, if all I have right now is some prompts, and I have a new prompt and I just do that, then hey, you've at least got the idea down. So you have to collect your ideas and keep an organized vision of collecting your ideas before you can use them. Because if they're rolling around in your head, you might use one or two, but yes, you can email me, Janet. Janet, I can email Dee Dee. Oh man, I've been wanting to do that for months. Janet, you're great. And Janet's another one we got to get streaming. Just saying, she's another one that's an amazing. She could do a children's book in a heartbeat. And she says, "But I'm retired. Don't put me back to work." We'll see. At least write down the ideas. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so that's under the technique tab. I'm going to skip the color tab. Well, no, I think I will. Let me do this. Let me tell you this real quick. These are some of the things that you might want to add, either just to think about under your color tab, or have a sub tab. Now, what I do, guys, is I have my main tabs, that I've already told you the table contents, and they're numbered here, and I have 10 so far main things. But under that, I have these top tabs that are like, under techniques, I'll have prompts. Okay, under color, I might have swatches. So I'll have my main tab, but I'll also have other tabs that will be like the subtopics. You know what I mean, Vern? All right. So under color, you might want to have some of these, whether they're on just one sheet of paper, a tab, however works for you. Okay. You want to keep color combinations. For instance, I'll just give you some of the ones I've got for examples. Under my sub tab of color combinations, I have a square that says 2, a square that says 3, a square that says 4. I don't really list more than that personally. Not that I never use more than 4 color combinations together, and you may want 10 color combinations. But what I'll do under those 2, 3, and 4 is I will do things like this. Things that will, if you may not ever use all your ideas, but you have them written down, we will get into using the ideas and mapping them and charting them and mind mapping ideas out after you have some ideas collected in your book. Not that you don't have any ideas. Believe me, we all have thousands of ideas. Okay, but to use them, you're going to have your own little bit of, you're going to have your own information to use because it has to be tailored to your ideas, not mine. You can't just use Paula's. I mean, you can get inspiration from Paula's art journaling, but you're never going to do an Paula art journal. You're never going to do an Eileen card. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to do a brand knitting exactly with her color combinations and her wool roving. So you have to collect your own ideas. I know I probably sound redundant in a lot of this, and I repeat a lot of it, but I'm also doing it because I want it well. Yeah, I want to talk it out so that everybody is understanding the variety of ways that you can do things, not just my way. Okay. All right. So under color combinations, under color tab, I have a sub tab color combinations. And under color combinations, I have a 2, a 3, and a 4. Under 2, I have things like red and turquoise. Now, that may seem obvious. We all love red and turquoise together. But will you remember that when you go to knit a sweater and you're thinking, what were those color combinations I loved? Man, I wish I would have thought about what color combinations that were real funky and cool together. Oh, let me go look at my color combinations. Okay. So it's not just the color combinations you're collecting, but you're collecting them for a purpose. All these things all these ideas we're writing down and collecting will be used for a purpose. I promise you will use them for a purpose. It may not be my purpose. I don't knit. But what I'm saying is you will use them for your purpose, but you have to have them down. So whatever color combinations you like, I love gray and yellow together. And then I also have under number 3, gray, yellow, and black. So can you kind of see, drive that? I'm driving, my main thing I want to drive home, wee hootie, is writing things down. You don't have to organize it like me. This is just a way that I've kind of thought about how to structure and collect your ideas, but then also to use them. We do so many cool things, but are we using them? Y'all know that my favorite is yellow ochre, sienna, and indigo or Payne's gray. So I have that under my number 3. I also have indigo and orchid, ochre together. Just indigo and ochre together. I love that color combination. I also like sienna and ochre. But then the 3 together, I like indigo or Payne's gray is a lighter, kind of a lighter form of indigo, and sienna and ochre. So use your color combination. Um, I think that the color brown, Tiffany blue, and white are amazing together. But am I going to remember if I don't write down that brown, Tiffany blue? I'll just write, if I just write down brown, blue, and white, that's why you can be more specific in your color thinking because you know what Tiffany blue is. Okay. All right. Let's see what CB's asking. Oh, no, no flamingos. It's a clown free flamingos free zone. For those of y'all watching the recording, there's just some people that don't like clowns, are afraid of clowns, and we have some a little bit of flamingo phobia going on. Just saying. All right, so um, lime and maroon. See, to me, those two colors are just cool together. So make your own color chart. And we talked last in episode 1. We talked about using design seeds, design-seeds.com to get cool color combinations. All right. That being said, now I'm going to another tab called Swatches, and that is where I store my design seeds and or paint chip color combinations. So it's like my favorite color combinations. I have 2, 3, and 4, but cool color combinations that I may have never thought about and may never use. Okay, I get from design seeds, paint chips, when you go to the paint chip aisle at Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, you'll see little decorator swatches where they've shown you, oh, these 3 colors in the living room transition to the hall, transition to the kitchen. They'll have cool color combinations that you may not have thought to use. Well, those go under swatches, which is separate from my color combinations. My color combinations are what I like, my personal color combinations, 2, 3, and 4 different color combinations. Now, if I have a design seed and I see, oh, I like those 3 colors together, then I might write them down with a name or some way, or even maybe a little swatch of a neo color or a color pencil or a crayon. So I remember that color. Okay. Oh, band flamingos. Okay. Yeah, and so Moomy was just saying she's bought fat quarters of fabric because she loved the color combination. See, right there, people. There, let's write that down. Fabric color combos from quilt. I guess you call them fat quarters. I always just call them like quilt swatches or quilt. I'll just write both things down. Fat quarters, because I don't quilt. But that's a good way to quarters. That's a good way to gather some color combinations. If you're not a quilter, you're not a sewer, you don't do really anything with fabric, but if you walk through Joann's Fabric or whatever fabric store, and you just like Moomy, she gets a lot of cool color combinations from the fat quarters. Then you don't have to buy them. Keep your little Molly or your little whatever journal you have in your purse and write down some of those color combinations in your journal without buying the color swatches, unless you know you're going to use them. Of course, Moomy probably would. Okay. So there's another way to gather some more ideas. Same thing for yarns. I mean, I think the yarns, the color combinations, and some of the ones that are spun together, 2 and 3 colors together, are amazing. But what am I going to do? Go buy all those color yarns just because they're pretty and I like the colors? Well, hey, we've all done that at one time or another. Not all of them, but you know what I'm saying, Vern. So it's better to write them down than just go out and buy it all, right? All right. So that's another subtitle under my color. Another one to put under your color are color names. Now, again, that could just be one sheet of paper or it could be a whole tab under color. You could have a whole thing with swatches. You could have one with combinations. You could have a tab with color names. Color names to me are like amazing. Your imagination can run crazy and you can get tons of ideas just by the names of the colors. If you don't want to have all the swatches in the paint shop, go by and look at the names. Have your little, if you got a few 5, 10 minutes extra time and you're in Home Depot, Lowe's, or wherever they have your color swatch paint chips, Take out the people will just think, oh, she's decorating something and is taking notes. I don't get embarrassed about that kind of stuff. Some people do. That's why I try to like make when I Cam and I go out somewhere to draw, I make him draw in public so everybody can see him draw. Let's get over it. Let's just get over being embarrassed. You like the name Periwinkle? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so get out your paper and your pen and write down your favorite yellow, red, orange, blue, just the main colors. Write down one name off of every main color that's interesting to you. I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about if you've ever done these kind of things. You'll collect your ideas and you will eventually start to find ways to use them. You'll never use them all. You just like the name green. I know Jean's favorite color is green. She likes green everything. I would like to see Jean's list, not necessarily by her show today, if she's streaming today, I don't know. But I would love to see Jean's list of every kind of name for green. Grass green, uh, you know, lime green, just all the names for all the kinds of greens. All right. So so we have swatches, combinations, names. Let's just stop with the colors right there, and we could do more on that. But I'm trying to get a little bit more in the next 5 minutes. Um, and of course, you already have your plans, projects, and to do. That for me is tab. What number was that for me? Tab number 8, I think, is my tab for that. But it doesn't have to be my number. You can put your projects and to do in the back, however you want to do it. I'm just the sequence isn't important. Other than maybe your main art and your secondary art. Other than that, there's really no benefit to having any of these in any particular kind of order. It's just that's not important. All right. All right. Oh, I know one other thing I wanted to do. Okay. All right. This one's going to take a while. Let me put a post-it note on it to do the next full hour. It's going to take me out. We can do a whole hour on this next one on topics, words, and themes. We're going to probably do a whole hour, hopefully, maybe next Monday. I'm thinking that maybe I can try to work in an hour every Monday that I'm home. Sometimes I might be at Denise's or whatever, so I may not be home every Monday. But if I'm here and I'm doing a show, I would like to at least spend an hour um, on topics, words, and themes. I have pages and pages. I got 1, 2, 3, 10, 12, 156. I've got at least almost 20 pages of notes on topics, words, and themes with 3 columns on each page. So that right there, we can have a whole bunch. But let me say this. You can start to gather. I know that there's lots, same thing like there are prompts out there. I know there are word lists out there. If you've come across over the years or even have and probably already have printed out lists of words that appeal to you for whatever reason, whether it's that you've been in some kind of group where they've used words as prompts, or if they just have word list of cool words, just keep those word lists, and that's as opposed to prompts. Prompts are things like dip your string in paint and drag it along a page, or like use bubble wrap, or use. I'm just looking in here. Make ink blots. That's a prompt. Words are just what they are. Lists of words. Okay. Oh, thanks, Anita. I hope y'all are gathering up. We're not yet using a lot of this yet, although hopefully you're getting ideas to use this. But hopefully you're getting some things out of this so far. It's just there's a lot that I want to talk about. All right, one of the things and I said I wanted to talk about giving you. Let me make a note of this with my post-it note. This is like I want to call it a homework assignment, but it will be. I'm going to write homework on here, but you don't have to consider it as homework. You just do it at your leisure. Keep a little paper or your pad of paper, whatever your scribbles are on, composition book, whatever, and do this. I want you to write down every occupation you can think of. Okay? Every occupation you can think of. Now, that's a lot. Right there. Right there, it will take you a week to even make a dent. Okay? So there's your homework. I'll just give you a 5 or 6 different things to think about. You could think about a researcher, an accountant, a builder, a sailor, a teacher, a student, a soldier, and I'm skipping around because I don't want to go in kind of any kind of singular or a bookmaker, an explorer, a printer. All right, so some of these are not necessarily even can be considered in our era. Think in other eras. Think doctors and nurses probably used to be called healers. Okay, so you could write down doctor, nurses, healer. Those are all different. They can be combined, overlap, and but depending on what you're thinking of at that time. If I say doctor, you might picture a hospital with a doctor and a clipboard and a patient in a perfectly sterile hospital environment. If I said healer, you might be thinking of a total different era. Um, if I said a pharmacist versus an herbalist, okay, you see how your vision already changes just by changing those two. They can mean the same, but they also could be a crossover to different eras. This is also another, I'll give you, and it seems simplistic, but if you will do it, you will expand your vocabulary and your imagination with all of your occupations. Now, this is not necessarily something you have to do like between now and next Monday. Pick a few and get out your thesaurus and see when you write down doctor or physician, however many different ways there are to say that. Healer, like I said, pharmacist could be an herbalist, a medicine man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So if you look up, and people that do crossword puzzles are real good at all this because they're always thinking about different ways to say the same word. But just for a week, just make a list of all the occupations you can, and preferably don't just go look it up on Google. Don't just go look up list of occupations on Google. You can do that later after you've made your own list. But make your own list of just whatever comes to your mind, every occupation you can think of. And then pick a few that's maybe interesting and go see other ways to say the same thing in the thesaurus. Okay? All right, so we're going to stop there. That's an hour. Like I said, we can spend tons of time just on the words, themes, and topics. And then we also have sources and references. Those could both be another hour show. So hopefully this is getting you working in your own idea notebook, not only just what I'm telling you, but what things come to you, that come to your mind. Okay? All right, so any questions or any comments? Yes, you can email me. I think all y'all have my email address. You know what I should do? No, I don't want to promise that. I can't promise that. Yeah, so there you go, sister woman. So you've already given a y'all have already started making a list of of synonyms and okay. Ah. So hopefully, guys, if y'all do have any questions, comments, ideas that you want to share with everybody, something that you've thought of that I haven't covered, that you think everybody needs to, think about that, or a new way of whatever, then do email me. Make sure you put your name so I know, because a lot of times people's names are not the same as their email, and I won't know who you are if I'm not emailing you regularly. Like, I know Scrappy Camper Sister is Jonna, but if I didn't know that, then I wouldn't know that was Jonna. But I want to give credit to any comments, questions, or ideas that anybody has. So if you do have any, and tell me your name so that I can give you credit for those ideas. Okay? You email me, Wee Hootie? Aw. Oh, thank you, Wee Hootie. So there you go. So this is like how I'm doing it. My main topics are broken out on tabs this way, and my table of contents, I just put numbers in my main table of contents, and then these are my subcategories. Like under color, I'll have combinations and words for color, like that. So you can do it whatever. Um, Things you would like to try would go under projects, plans. I think, how did we word that? Project plans and project plans and to do. Project plans and to do for now. But I'm going to tell you that eventually, what this purpose of all this idea gathering is not just to have the ideas collected, but we want to know how to use them. We want to use them. But we have to have some ideas to use. So that's why we're collecting them now. We're going to start using them more and more. Okay? But whatever works for you. If you want your own tab about that, Ms. Pieper, then make your own tab. Make that under to do plans and projects, and then whatever. It doesn't have to be just like mine. It's what triggers the best for you to remember where that is. If you're going to forget where that is, then put it somewhere you'll know it where it is. All right, so there we go, guys. So thanks for being here for our hour of, and I will call this Idea Notebook episode 2. Thank you, Carrie. And so thanks, guys. And I think I've caught up on pretty much everybody's. I've got to finish watching Eileen's second half of her second video. But other than that, I think I've caught up with everybody. So, and one other thing, is Jean still here? Jean, are you streaming at 4? Um, Thanks, Eileen. I just hope, guys, that I'm being uh, thorough, but not. And I know it's a lot of it is redundant, but I hope I'm being thorough and keeping it interesting at the same time. All right. If Jean's streaming at 4, then we'll see you there. All right, guys. Okay, you are streaming. Put a link if you want, Jean. And hi, Sherry. Bye.